Welcome in, everybody. This is SC Romero of the PPR. So today I am joined by the one and only Cody Folden of the Dynasty Pros team. Here to talk some day one draft recap and give you some insight on what we think may happen on day two here on the PPR show. Coming up right after this. Cody, my brother, how is it going, my guy?
Oh, it's going good. How about you?
Doing good, man. Doing good. I appreciate you joining me on this fine early hour of day two of the NFL
Yeah.
draft. Day one, we were teasing it's like Christmas for all of us in the Dynasty community, right? So day two, I guess, is that day after Christmas, right? Maybe the day you go back to work where you're like you don't want to, but yet you still have to, but yet there's still some excitement left over, right? Maybe you got something new and you want to play with it. A lot of teams they get something new in day one, right? We can't wait
There's
for it to
some
get
excess
back into it.
eggnog left. Yeah.
Exactly. You're like, man, I gotta finish it off. Maybe you have some turkey, you get your cold turkey sandwich, kind of stuff like that. But let's go over some of the picks. We'll recap some of day one here, and then we'll go into some things that we think may happen on day two, which is rounds 2 and 3 for the new people that don't know what the NFL draft is in 3-day process there. But number one, no surprise, Caleb Williams, right? That was a big one there. Number two, was that a surprise? I guess I should say. Yeah,
No.
we knew that was happening. Number two, Jaden. I know there was smoke, that they may go somewhere else, but I don't think that was a surprise either. I think Jaden was best on the board, and that actually moves him up because that's my favorite outside the 101 because they're paying him, but that's probably my favorite landing spot just because of the weapons they have there as well. Number three, Drake May. Again, nothing big. He's been. Sorry, I have a cat real quick. Hold on.
All good.
Drake May has been, consensus three for a long time. People have mocked him there as well. How do you feel about Drake May in New England?
I think that's probably one of the worst landing spots for the quarterback. So it just is what it is at this point. Until they prove us different, I don't know if anyone wants any of their skill position players going there.
Right.
And that counts as quarterback. Do I think he has the leadership to break that habit for New England? Yes, I really do. So, but he also has some bad habits that could get intensified there. So I'm
Yeah.
hoping he doesn't bust out there.
I think the biggest thing is, we'll get into it as well, but they had the second overall pick in day two, if I'm not mistaken. And so that's going to be huge because do they address the wide receiver room? That's always been a struggle for the quarterbacks. They just don't have really the weapons there, right? So that's going to be a big part for them if they address it. Marvin Harrison Jr., number 4 to the Cardinals. Good move there. I just don't see, they needed someone, him, McBride, now Kyler Murray. So great move there. Joe Alt, I know a lot of people thought Neighbors was going there, but I think this is just signifying what they're trying to do in Los Angeles. They're going to run hard in that. And I don't know if, Justin Herbert could throw the ball. We've seen him throw over 5,000 yards, but I think that's something to say for what Harbaugh's going to do. And, bringing in Greg Roman as well. This is just going to be a run heavy team, and they want to make sure they got a big guy on the outside to make sure they can sustain that as well. What do you think on that?
Well, I think that's a good analysis of it. And if we look at what he was doing in Michigan, he protected JJ McCarthy, and now people are questioning why he wasn't getting as many throws. Well, this is kind of the opposite, right? We know Herbert can throw, but he's still going to protect him. And so Herbert's numbers might be a little lower, but he's going to be more accurate. He's going to be more efficient, and he's going to be slinging it all over when he has to.
Right.
He doesn't have to do it all the time. So I think that's where the big aspect of that is going to be. And I mean, in my opinion, Quentin Johnson goes up boards, and I'm trying to get him in a dynasty buy now instead of.
Yeah.
And if I had him, I'm trying to sell him because I think. Is there a few wide receivers still out there that could probably take his wide receiver 1 from him in day 2? They have the fifth pick of round two, so if they took a wide receiver there, I would say yes. But
Mm.
after that, I don't know.
Who? Let me see. I was doing what I think may happen last night. Chargers. I mean, yes, but I think right here it comes to I think they get Roman Wilson. To be honest,
Okay.
I think that's someone that could be argued in there. Would that be my pick? No, because I still have. Um, I guess actually, yeah. Now that I'm looking at my board, that's my top right receiver on the board at that time because I think we see
You see
four wide
80 Mitchell.
receivers,
Yeah.
80 Mitchell Franklin, and even McConkey come up, and then we
Yep,
have
I think so.
Roman Wilson. So I think that's it, and I think it's just destiny that they end up getting Corum in the back end too. On the
I
third round.
think,
So
and I think Roman Wilson and uh, Quentin Johnson are good. Is a good pairing.
yeah,
Different style of wide receivers that you need on
exactly.
the roster and for them to game plan for. So I think that would be a huge fit for him.
Right. Agreed. Let's see, number six, Malik Neighbors. I think that's good. I think this another smoke on them getting a quarterback. I think that was just trying to force people to trade up, and no one bought it. Good sign for Daniel Jones owners. I think they're gonna try it out one time and see what he can do. I know they brought in Drew Lock. They have a DeVito there still, but I think with them paying Daniel Jones last season, they got him his alpha, and now it's like okay, this is do or die in a sense for Daniel Jones there. Number seven, JC Latham, good pick, just smooth operator. You need someone to block for Will Levis. And if you have anything to say about it, just stop me as I go through them
You're
too.
good.
We're gonna get into this one later because we'll talk about surprises. Well, Michael Penix Jr. is at 8 to Atlanta. Um, we'll get into that one later because we can open a bag of worms in that one there for him.
You definitely can.
Uh, so Romo Dunze number 9. Great. What do you think this does for the wide receiver room? Like who lost with Odunze going to Chicago? Did they win actually? And rank them as far as who you think is the top target person and go in the three wide receivers that they have there.
Oh, I think DJ Moore is still the one for sure. But I think this helps Roma Dunze's value for sure. He would
Mm-hmm.
be the two there for me. And I think that moves him up into wide receiver two in rookie drafts this year, to be honest. And that's because unfortunately and weirdly, I trust Caleb Williams more already than I trust Daniel Jones with Malik Neighbors.
Yeah.
Because I think I would have actually liked seeing Roma Dunze in New York a little bit more, but that's just if I was a New York fan because I already
Right.
have a lot of Malik Neighbors types of players like Wandell Robinson, Jalen Hyatt. They all do the same thing, so they didn't really address their real need at wide receiver, the real outside threat. Now, do I think Malik Neighbors can turn into that? Yes,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that's why Thomas Jr. had a huge year as well because he was the outside threat and Malik Neighbors could do what he was good at.
Right.
So I think that's where they Roma Dunze should have went, but you're gonna let DJ Moore do what he does, and Roma Dunze is gonna learn everything from him, and that's a good sign.
Now, what does this do to Keenan Allen though?
Keenan Allen, I mean, he's going to produce. He's always going to get you the 10 yards that you need. So I like the trio. And it's hard to put it's hard to put Roma Dunze second because I did forget that Allen was there.
Mm-hmm.
But it's DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, and Roma Dunze for sure. I mean, how can you not be excited for Odunze learning
Yeah.
from DJ Moore and Keenan Allen? That's huge.
So for rookie drafts, Odunze was our 106 consensus for us. We had it as for the guys at FFU, we had it as
Okay.
Caleb, Jaden, Harrison, Neighbors, May. These we're gonna do different things, after the draft when it's all said and done. Odunze was 6. Would you still consider him 6, or are you putting him at 5 above May, or are you moving him down?
That's what I'm doing. I'm moving him up to 5 before
Yeah.
May. Now, if I'm a QB needed team, I'm going to take May because he's going to start. But I like the upside of Odunze a little bit more because we know Allen's on his last leg too.
Right.
So it's just more of I would move him up to 5 if I was a betting man.
That's fair. Yeah, I like that. I think that's a great fit. I think that's someone that he's going to be molded. Keenan Allen there. is going to be an issue, but not an issue as far as like long term, right? But definitely an issue as far as this. He's going to go in there and teach Odunze and DJ Moore to elevate their game even more. Keenan Allen's one
Yep.
of the most consistent wide receivers. You see him in the top 10, top 15 all the time. So I really like that. Now he's going under that tree to learn from Keenan Allen and grow. So that's going to be great there.
Yeah.
Um, JJ McCarthy at 10, they did move up, one spot. They traded to the Jets to move up one spot from 11 to 10. Great move there. I'm glad they didn't give the bag to move up in the top 5 to go get JJ. I was one that said, they could stay where they're put and get him all along. I think they made that move afraid someone else would have made it if they didn't. So, I think that was a good move by them.
I'm the resident Vikings fan. Yes, I loved it. I loved it. Was a master class. I mean, you didn't have to give up 23,
Mm-hmm.
which inevitably we'll talk about here in a second. That they got him moved up for what almost everyone's consensus top
Right,
defensive prospect on the board.
right.
We let Quessy cook, and he finally delivered
Yeah,
a
there you go.
medium well steak, and I'm very excited and I'm very happy for it.
I think the big news now is when will we see JJ get the contract extension? Um, Justin Jefferson, yeah.
It would be a
Um,
great day to do it today since they don't have any day 2 picks. Their next pick is round 4, 108.
there you go. So you go
Today
in
would
there
be a great day for that.
go in there and say, "Look, man, we got our guys. Let's just pay you, bro. This is all yours now." The Jets go in, get Olo Fasanu from Penn State. Good move too. Aaron Rodgers coming off of injury. You need to protect him. I was saying on some shows yesterday, they're in win now mode as long as they have Aaron Rodgers. Not saying the team is fully ready there, but as long as they have him, they're in win now mode. So you have to protect him at all costs. So I think that was a smart move there. Let's see. Bo Nix, 12. Again, we'll talk about surprises there, but I think people started mocking quarterbacks to them as well. So we'll move on from there for right now. Brock Bowers at 13 to the Raiders. That was, again, we'll talk about surprises later. So that was big. The tackles, Saints at 14 get Fuaga from Oregon State. Great move. People sleep on Derek Carr. Derek Carr is a consistent top 20, top 18 quarterback. Last year was a little banged up. So I think, protecting him says something that they're sticking with him as well. Don't be surprised if they don't get like Mike. I wouldn't be surprised if they get like Michael Pratt or Rattler, coming down. But I think that was a good move for them to, go out there and protect Carter there. The edge rusher, this is a big one. The Colts get the first defensive guy off the board at 15, and Leatu Latu, my number one edge in the class. So I love that move for them, just someone that could bring pressure, especially in a division that has some good youthful quarterbacks that they need to get after them as well. You have Byron Murphy going to the Seattle Seahawks. I was mocking that to them too. I think that's just a great pick
Yeah.
up the middle. Clog it for them. Go ahead and talk to us about 17, the Dallas Turner pick. I'm moving up to get him.
Look, what has the Vikings been doing in free agency and this whole offseason? They've been gathering guys that fit Brian Flores' system, and they did it again in this move. We have 4 edge rushers now that can really impact the game and will impact a lot of IDP leagues as well.
Mhm.
And I mean, if you need an edge to produce, you want them to be in a Brian Flores system. They're always going to produce fantasy points, especially in IDPs. So
Mhm.
I'm very excited for that pick. And he's the only long term option we have now because we've signed a lot of them to 1 and 2 year deals. So he's obviously the future. He might not start right away. I think he will, but he might be more of the third guy in the rotation just to start out, just because Van Ginkel and Graynard are there and they've played with Flores before and know that system.
Mhm.
So just let him get his feet wet and get him going, and then he's gonna fly around the field because we know he does.
Right, and I think I was on a show yesterday when they made that pick, and I think it's a sentiment to what Houston did last year. As
Yeah.
far they saw that, where they got their offensive weapon, their quarterback, and then they got their defensive guy that could be an anchor. I think they
Yep.
kind of did that same kind of move, getting JJ McCarthy and then getting Dallas Turner, 2 fundamental pieces that you can now build around because they are solid foundations for your team on offense and defense. So I love that move
Yep.
by them.
And I mean, you can even follow that up with what Houston did, finding the receiver in Stephon Diggs. We already have that core, but we've drafted them.
Mhm.
So it's more of a we've already have that kind of core. That's what Houston cut up as, and then we took their mold in what they did last year. I agree with that. I think it's a really good. It's just obviously better value based off of where we got him.
Mhm.
Now, Will Anderson wouldn't have been there at
Right,
17 last year for them to do that. They had to do what they had to do.
for
So I
sure.
mean, and he's also very good. So it's
And
just more of a, I'm happy with what they did, and to still have your 25 first round pick. I
right,
don't care if they only have four others in the
yeah.
fifth, sixth, and seventh round next year. You still have your first rounder, and that's the one that's going to start.
And
Or
I think they made this move because we saw the defensive guys start coming. We saw a little run with Latu
yep,
Murphy, and they're like, "Oh snap, we need to make this move before someone jumps ahead and gets our number one guy on the board." So love it.
exactly. I mean, and at that point in the draft, right, a lot of the experts say there's only 20, 23 guys that have first round grades.
Mm,
If you're at 18 or 17 and you still have one of your top rated guys, probably in the top five rated guys on the board, I
yeah,
would move up 10 times out of 10 to go get that guy.
and probably like 90% of the mocks I saw, including myself, had the Falcons getting Dallas Turner at 8. So you got him 9 picks later. A huge steal. That's probably right now the steal of the draft, getting Turner at 17 there. Um, the Bengals got Americus Mims, offensive tackle. This guy, I was talking about him too. This guy is a freaking titan, man. I don't know if you've seen Attack on Titan, but those giants
Yeah,
that just demolish the towns there. This guy's like 7 feet tall. Not don't call me. He's not really 7 feet tall, but damn well 7 feet tall. Weighs like a ton. Just a building block on your outside. You want to protect Joe Burrow. This is the guy to do it. So good pick there. Jared Verse to the Rams, love it. That was huge. I think that's a fantastic pick for Jared Verse. He could arguably in this system could arguably become the edge rusher one of the class because of that where he's at. Then you have Keon Mitchell to the Eagles, love it too. Someone else that we thought was going top 15 and he did not, but to the Eagles, phenomenal. They needed that cornerback help, and I think that is number one on the board. So great pick there. Then you have Brian Thomas Jr. to the Jaguars. I get it. I guess people talk about disappointments. Like I get it. You have Gabriel Davis, you have Christian Kirk. Maybe you start moving Kirk into the slot or something. But I think there was other needs that you could have addressed and good a wide receiver later. What are your thoughts on Thomas Jr. there?
I like Thomas Jr., but like what everyone is saying at the end of this last week, it's will he buy in? That's the biggest aspect. If they can get him to buy in, they got a good pick. So it's just more of
Yeah,
I think he takes Gabe Davis's role for sure. I think that pushes Gabe Davis to wide receiver 3, and I think
yeah,
that's where Gabe Davis flourishes. He
yeah,
can't be a 2, or and he definitely can't be a 1.
yeah,
So I think with Gabe Davis doing what he does, he can blow the top off if you want him to, but he's also a possession wide receiver. Brian Thomas is your true deep threat, and then you have Christian Kirk doing everything else. It's a good blend, but again, if there's a coach that's going to have full buy-in from his team, I think it's Doug Peterson.
yeah,
But he also have shown that he can get a team to blow up on him. So
yeah,
hopefully that he's not the stick of dynamite.
yeah.
So
Then you go with the Lions, Terry and Arnold, quarterback, smooth move as well. I think this is just some he was the one off the board as well. So
yep,
a great pick, just fits the mold and what they're doing defensively. They got their offensive pieces over the past couple drafts. So now you go defense and get a corner acre at that secondary. Jordan Morgan to the Packers. Love this too. I think this was a big piece for them to say, we want to run the ball, but also protect Jordan Love, and also them not getting a wide receiver. I know some people had it. Their wide receivers came out last year, and Jordan Love so good connections with them. So I think this was a smooth move to say, hey, let's make sure our quarterback is safe so he can still get these balls out to these wide receivers there. Graham Barton, center to the Bucks. This one's interesting because Jackson Powers Johnson was on the board, and they went ahead and took Graham Barton. Graham Barton, I think, is a little bit more versatile, can be, but that one's an interesting one.
because didn't Barton play tackle, but they're gonna have him play center?
Yeah. So
Okay,
that's what I'm saying. A little bit more versatile there,
yeah,
so can move around, but definitely an anchor piece for him. Cardinals moving up to get Darius Robinson. That's a big one too, because I think that's solid to get your edge rusher there. The Chiefs move up to get Xavier Worthy. So let's talk about him for a little bit. He just went 105 in one of my drafts that we had started as soon as the draft started. What are your thoughts on Worthy as far as going to the Chiefs, knowing they got Hollywood, and what is this doing the rookie drafts for you?
I mean, it definitely moves him up, but I'm still not gonna take all the guys we've already talked about. I'm not gonna move them down to move him up. Doesn't move him up maybe to have no running backs now in the first round? Probably. I would say that. Probably in the 10 1.10, 11, 12 range, I would take him. Definitely. But we have to be cautious about this, right? Because they brought in Kadarius Toney and he was supposed to do everything that he did, and he hasn't done it. Now they have Hollywood Brown. I think that's the one that you want to go buy is Hollywood Brown because he's a true wide receiver one. He's shown that he was great with Lamar Jackson. He was okay with Kyler Murray. I think he was only okay with Kyler Murray because Kyler Murray isn't on the same level as Lamar Jackson. Patrick Mahomes obviously is.
Right.
So I think that's where we're going to see Hollywood Brown numbers what he did in Baltimore rather than what we saw him at the Cardinals, and he's going to be the touchdown guy.
That's right.
Worthy's going to play that Swiss Army knife role for sure, but we have to pump the brakes a little bit. He's also not Tyreek Hill.
For sure.
It's just
And that's the hope, right? With that speed that they can mold him into something like that. Now, question becomes: let's say we don't know official what a suspension, if any, is going to happen. If Rasheed Rice gets a 2-game suspension,
yep.
what does that do in terms of his stock? Like, is Wardy still over Rasheed Rice now in your rankings, or is he someone that you'd rather get Rasheed Rice because you think there's still some value there if there's a 2-game suspension?
I think I would still take Rasheed Rice, especially if it's a 2-game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just because he was filling the role and he was the only option they really had after Travis Kelce.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of reminds me of, and now this didn't work out for the Commanders, but it could have if they did it correctly. And I think Andy Reid can do it correctly. You have Terry McLaurin, you have Jahan Dotson, and then you have Curtis Samuel doing everything else as the Swiss Army knife.
Mm-hmm.
If you have Worthy doing the Curtis Samuel role,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have Rasheed Rice do his thing, and you have Hollywood Brown do his thing on the outside, that's pretty dangerous. Plus, you have the best tight end ever.
Yeah.
So, yes, aged, he's 35, but
Doesn't matter, bro.
you're not going to be able to double him with. He can still beat a safety. He can still beat a linebacker, and you're getting weapons again that are going to get pretty nasty with Patrick Mahomes as quarterback.
You bring up age, and when you have goats at the position, Kelsey, Henry, Brady, age doesn't matter. They're immortal in a sense, right? So it's like until he says I'm done, you're drafting him top all the time. So
yeah,
good pick though. I love that. Wardy's gonna be interesting too. And I think if, like you mentioned earlier, about if you need a QB, you go May. But if you don't need one, I think Wardy's a great pick there for you to jump ahead of May there. Got in with this. This is a good pick for Dallas. I think I expected them to go wide receiver or even maybe defense here. But this is a good pick and got in. I think someone just to block up the end there and, help up Dak Prescott as well. Nate Wiggins to the Ravens. Love the pick. Third cornerback off the board. Just a smaller frame guy, but really quick as well. So good pick for the Ravens there. This is where it gets interesting. We have Pretty Ricky, Ricky Purcell go to the 49ers. Rumors saying they may trade Debo, and we're going to talk about some of that here too with this next pick, day 2 picks, but that's interesting. And then the Panthers trading up one spot to go and get their guy Xavier Legette. They said, if we take you at 33, what does that look like? They ended up trading up and getting him at 32. I like the spot. I think that I would still take him back in the first. Like, I don't think that moves him into top 10 for me. But I do like that spot for Legette, especially learning from someone like Deontay. And then you also have Adam Thielen there at Legette and Flores by the end of the season.
I like the spot. I just don't think they needed to trade up because I don't think the Bills were going to take him.
Yeah, I think it was more so that 5th-year option. That you talk about doing stuff like that for some guys to get your 5th-year option more. So, yeah, I don't think the Bills would have done it either. And they could have easily got him at 33 there. But let's go into some of our questions here. Let's start with the first one, as I mentioned. We'll talk about here. Day one surprises. Let's go in with the Michael P. Or just your biggest ones. Just walk me through your biggest ones.
I mean, obviously, Michael Penix to the 8 was a surprise. Um, Brock Bowers to the Raiders was a surprise, but my biggest surprise after those two, it was pretty chalk. I thought like
Hmm.
that makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense until San Francisco and they
Hmm.
picked Ricky up. I thought that was a little early, but I also understand it kind of. I think it kind of played their hand because it's like I think they are going to trade Debo now. To be honest,
Hmm.
Ayuk, like what Shefty tweeted out, Ayuk and Pearsall played together 1 year at Arizona State
Hmm.
together. So this is a sign saying, "Hey Ayuk, we're going to pay you. We just brought in your guy. He's going to be right next to you. Debo, see you later."
Yeah.
It's more of a. It seems amazing or to do it that way. I think is a good way to kind of get your business done. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think Debo's on his way out, which that was surprising to me. But as a Debo stan, I
Hmm.
like it, especially if he goes to the Bills.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm
that's
willing it to the Bills now.
and that's the pick on the clock, right? So
Yep.
that's something I think if they're getting it done is to get one of these guys up first, to trade up and get their guy as well. I think they may go defensive guy here to go
They
in
might
and
trade
get
down
their
too and
yeah,
just gather
you
more
know,
picks.
and trade out, and make some more because I do think they do have a pick in the second at the end there too. So that one probably is a big surprise. Let's talk about Phoenix though at 108. Uh That's big. That's
It's
big.
big.
That's big. Simply because I feel you could have traded back. I mean, I guess you're still paying him less. He's getting like 20 million a year now. And you have that 5 year option, so I feel you could have traded back. Now the question he's sitting. I mean, you pay Kirk Cousins all this money, so Michael Penix is sitting, and he's had injury concerns too, and so maybe that's why you want him to be coached by Kirk Cousins, who's just coming through an ACL, and we'll see what he comes through
Yep.
as well, and say, hey, this is how you get better, do it right in the NFL level. Um, just a big surprise because I feel you didn't lead to do it. I don't know if Denver. 'Cause I think we still have JJ. I'm going to Minnesota. I don't know if Denver takes Penix over Knicks.
I
I
don't think
think
so either.
I think they still would have gone both Knicks. I guess you have the Raiders potentially getting Penix there. But I think Penix could have dropped to the second round. So this is definitely a 5 year option gaining. I think they overdrafted this guy for what's gonna happen. You're just sitting in. But I mean,
It was the
this was
worst landing spot for Penix too, because now he's sitting right. So he's gonna plummet in rookie drafts for sure because you're just
uh,
gonna put him in your taxi for
right,
however long you can. But it's also like you said, like why take him there when you need defensive help and Dallas Turner was still there, like what
right,
everyone mocked.
right.
And like Kirk Cousins, again, I'm the resident Vikings fan. Like I get it. 4 year 180, the Vikings weren't gonna do that. I liked what we had with Kirk Cousins, but
Mhm.
it was time to move on. But to have a 24-year-old be the backup and have
Mhm.
him sit maybe 4 years, and now he's going to be 27, 28 by the time he starts.
Right.
JJ McCarthy's going to have 4 years of starting experience, and he's going to be 24,
Yeah.
2 picks
Just
later. So
right.
if you were going to take a project, why wouldn't you take one of the younger guys and not
Yeah.
the 24-year-old that you need to have? That's just
Yeah.
my opinion on it.
No, age becomes a
That's
huge
why
factor.
you take Bo Nix. That's why the Broncos take Bo Nix because they're like he's probably going to start this year.
Yeah. And he has the
Now you
experience
have
too.
Zach Wilson too, but he's 24, he's 23, he's got experience, and he
Mhm.
can run my system.
If anything, Bo Nix will go in there and teach Zach Wilson.
Exactly.
And if Bo Nix doesn't hit, you can always say, okay, at least he's an older quarterback. We're not just throwing away that youthful talent, right? In a sense.
Exactly.
I do have Atlanta getting Kamari Lassiter from Georgia with their next picks, so going defense there. That's a cornerback. I still think they need that edge rusher. Some of the edge rushers I think that are still on the board for me, become looking at the board. Chris Boswell from Alabama, possibly you could talk about there. Um, Edgerrin Cooper's, I know a linebacker, he can play outside as well. Even Western Michigan, Marshawn Leland, someone there. I think they go last year, just the hometown favorite there, and getting him in Georgia. And then let's talk about Mayer and Bowers. You
Ugh.
said Penix, drops down the rookie boards. So he's not a first round pick anymore, right? I think you could argue 111, 112. Now you let him slide to the second.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I love Michael Mayer too.
Hmm.
I'm going to talk Michael Mayer
Yeah.
more than Brock Bowers probably because Mayer all offseason I've been saying he's the breakout candidate. He's going
Hmm.
to have a great year and stuff like that. It's just I don't know if they can run 12 personnel with Aiden O'Connell
Hmm.
and expect success. Because I also don't think Mayer and Brock Bowers together are Hernandez and Gronk. Like everyone wants that, but those two aren't it.
Yeah.
Now, Bowers, are they thinking of putting him in the slot more and having Mayer as the inline? Because that might work.
Yeah.
I don't know what they were thinking. I think in this case, everyone they actually wanted was off the board, so they took best player available. And I
Right.
can't fault them for that. But it hurts for fantasy for sure.
So 100%.
Like,
So
yeah,
go ahead.
it just, yeah, like I said, it just hurts for fantasy. Now, the Raiders probably they got a great guy. They got the best tight
Yeah.
end on the board and the best player probably available. So, in a football sense, it's probably a good move.
Yeah.
Hedging your bet on two
Right.
tight ends and stuff. But yeah, fantasy wise, it just sucks.
So two questions. 100% agree. Mayer or not Mayer, excuse me. Bowers was our 108 consensus at the FFU. Would you still take him at 108, or does he slide your draft boards now?
I'm
Is
not
he?
taking him in the first round.
You're not taking him first? Okay.
No,
So
I'm
not.
moving a bunch, especially with what I'm seeing in the second round here. Some of those guys, Lad McConkey's going to go. Franklin's going to
Mhm.
go. I hope Troy Franklin actually slides to the 13th pick or the 45th pick to the Saints. Because I
Nice.
think if you have Chris Olave and Troy Franklin as your 1-2 punch, that's pretty nasty. I would take Troy Franklin above Bowers there.
Uh-huh.
It's just Brock Bowers has been the consensus number one tight end for 2 years now, and he's had
Yeah.
all the hype, right?
Hmm.
But with what
Yes.
happened with Pitts and what's happened with a bunch of these other tight ends,
Hmm.
there's going to be regression. And
Right.
now with the landing spot that he got, people are going to get spooked, and I
Yeah.
don't blame them. So I think he moves out of the first round for me.
So the next follow up on that, that's fair. I mean, mm,
It's
I
hard,
think
right?
if you're in that 112 pick, I'm not mad if you take him. If he drops there because,
Yeah,
like you just mentioned, consensus tight end one for the past couple years, so you're hoping for that. But having Mayer there hurts because Mayer is an all around tight end that can do it. So what does that do for? I mean, is Mayer still a breakout candidate for you, or you think that kind of slides it down?
I mean, it probably slides him down a little bit, but
Yeah.
he's already been in the system, so I think that helps his. I mean, it's kind of like the Knox and Kincaid thing, right? Knox was pretty much the starter until he got hurt, and then Kincaid finally broke out. But Kincaid was also playing a lot of slot and a little bit more on those types of things out on the outside, and Knox was in line. So I think
Yeah.
you're going to see a lot more of that. I think Mayer is going to start out. So yes, I would. Do I think he's going to break out to the likes of Trey McBride? No, not anymore. But I still think he's going to be a viable option for you at tight end, especially after the top four go.
Right.
So I mean,
That's
he's
fair.
still a candidate that I'm going to trade third round picks for
Right.
to go get.
So you think you would still take Mayer instead of getting Bauer at cost going lower?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
Just that's just
Cool.
me. But
That's
I'm
fair.
also I am a Mayor stan. So
No, that's
I
fair enough.
love Bowers and stuff, but I think I'm already at cost or like
Yeah.
at ad nauseum with Bowers. Like I know he's good,
Yeah.
but now he's fighting another guy already. Like why is he fighting another guy? Why wasn't he taken by the Jets
Right.
if that was a need, right? I don't think it was a need because I think Rogers likes Conklin. So
Yeah.
I think he might be the biggest winner of the first round is Conklin, not
Yeah.
not them not taking a tight end because I think Rogers actually likes him.
That's
So
fair. I love that. Love that. Great. Yeah, that's gonna be a big moves. And Knicks, let's talk about Knicks. 12. I know a lot of people had later grades on him. What does that do for you? Like, where would you necessarily where's the spot you're taking him now in your rookie drafts?
you rise him up. He's definitely on the high end of round two. I mean, even maybe I wouldn't be mad if you took him at 1.10, right?
Yeah.
He's going to be the starter eventually.
Yeah.
because Sean Payton's going to will it. He's going to make
Yeah,
him work. That's just who he is, and he's too stubborn not to make it work or not having play.
yeah.
So you're gonna, even if he's a bad quarterback, he's still gonna produce in fantasy more than your fifth flex player.
And they
And
traded
you
what
always need a yeah. Go ahead.
they traded a fifth or sixth for Wilson, I think. So there's
Exactly.
no value there.
Exactly. So I
Yeah.
think, I mean, he's still gonna be, especially in super flex, you want him. And if you're desperate for a QB3 or a QB4 in your super flex drafts, he's a great option to have, and I'd be ecstatic to have him.
Denver, just looking at the board, I don't think Denver has a second round pick. So with these wide receivers, about to go crazy potentially. I'm looking at the third round too. They have a third. I think they have two thirds. One second. No, they only have one third round pick. It would not surprise me if they trade up to get one of these wide receivers, considering they just have Sutton, Mims. I think they still have Tim Patrick there too. But I agree. I think he's someone you can take in the back end of the first, just because you know he's starting. I don't think Zach Wilson is necessarily pushing for that. But speaking about wide receivers and moving up, let's go into it. The wide receiver class is deep. We did see 7 go in the first round, but you've already hit on some in Franklin. Potentially dropping to the Saints there. Talk to me about some wide receivers you're watching for day 2 right now.
SC, you're the Oregon guy, and you're the first guy that I was hearing pounding the table for Troy Franklin. I watched the tape. I couldn't put him over a Dunze, but I could put him over a bunch of other guys.
Mm-hmm.
He's got slick route running, and wherever he goes, I hope he gets a really good shot. And that, I just told you the perfect landing spot, in my opinion, would be, and that's the Saints. I think if the Saints get him, he's moving up boards. Well, I like him. I think he made Bo Nix a first round talent.
Yeah,
I'm going to
100%.
say it because
Yeah.
a lot of the Bo Nix tape is bad, but when he got his best wide receiver, that was Troy Franklin, he started looking a lot better.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good case for him. I still like AD Mitchell, even with all the bad press about him. I think he's a talent.
I think AD Mitchell's first off the board. I think Buffalo gets him.
I think so too.
Assuming they're still there, I think Buffalo's the one that takes him. So
I think the other two Washington wide receivers, I'm excited to see where they go because I like both of them too.
mm-hmm.
And they still produced with Rome there and with Penix throwing them the ball. I think before McMillan's injury, he was the wide receiver 2 and Polk was 3.
Mm-hmm.
McMillan took a little bit more time to get back, so Polk became the wide receiver 2. But they're both very consistent players, and I think that's what you're trying to find. Especially, you're trying to just fill your roster out now. Like you're building your roster round 2 to round 7. You're not taking best player available. You need to take your position needs. And these two guys will fill in your wide receiver 3, wide receiver 2 roles very nicely. I think they're the least likely to bust, but they don't really have that much more of a ceiling either. So they're just kind of there. And I think that's what you need.
Looking at my board, I still need to go through the third round, but looking at my board right now, I like both of the Washington wide receivers. I think they become steals in your rookie drafts. But I don't have either of them going in the second round. So do you think they go in the second round, or you think they drop to the third round?
They probably drop to the third, I would assume, because I mean, we're going to see a wide receiver run, like you said. We're going to see Mitchell. We're going to see Franklin. We're going to see McConkey. And probably maybe even Malachi Corley. I wouldn't put Malachi Corley above them, but that's just me. But yeah, I would see maybe late second, early third. I think we're going to see them coming off the board sooner than later.
Okay. So sneak peek, I'll end up putting this on X. But my second round right now, I have Buffalo going AD Mitchell. I have New England getting Troy Franklin. I think that's I think what's May, if they go wide receiver and get someone like Troy Franklin, I think that will put May back up into your top 5 there potentially.
You know what? I think if that happens, I'm okay with saying yes.
Yeah,
it would move back up.
And I feel that's a good rookie chemistry to have your 1-2 guys. And we saw, like you just mentioned with Bo Nix, game Franklin. We saw the negatives in Drake May last season. You did see some positives too, but you saw also once Tez Walker came back into the script, May started doing more successful things. So having that wide receiver that can stretch the field but be a fluid route runner is good.
It's really hard to watch the May tape last year because his line was the worst in the country. Like, of course he's going to have bad habits. He had 1.5 seconds to throw the ball every time.
Right.
So it was tough.
Yeah, agreed. And I think that's if they don't address the wide receiver in the second round, I start to hit the panic button because it's like, what are you doing? They could be an option to trade for Debo. We'll see.
Yeah,
Maybe they
that's
get
true.
Higgins too, so that's still big. But I start to hit the panic button a little bit if they don't go with the wide receiver that second overall pick. I actually have Pittsburgh trading up to Washington's pick to get Lad McConkey.
Ooh,
I
okay.
think that's gonna be the fourth overall. I have them trading up because I think they're afraid Chargers may move up and get him. But then the Chargers like, well, you know what? We'll just get our guy at Roman Wilson with that fifth pick there as well. And then
I
my
like it.
other wide receiver I have Malachi Corley going to Arizona. No, No, yeah, to Arizona. Sorry, Arizona trades Green Bay to go up and get Malachi Corley. So now you have Malachi Corley and Marvin Harrison Jr. there, just two guys that can play opposite of each other, and I think that could be fluid for them. But I do think there are tons of wide receivers. I think we do see different runs. Both in the second and third round there, and I think that's going to be a huge part for it.
Would you put
Um,
Keon Coleman above the Washington receivers? Do you think he goes before them? He's a tough
would,
evaluate.
would, would I? No. But do I think he goes above them? Yes.
Yeah.
And, I've been asked this question before, thinking about it, having time to think about it too. The team, it's gonna be Florida State undefeated team. People are gonna fall all over that and get Keon Coleman. Um, but I don't think he's definitely that. I think he can step in. I did have Dallas taking him at first because I think that could be
Okay.
a good option to CD, but I ended up switching that to Jonathan Brooks, which we'll talk about running backs here in a sec.
Yeah.
But I do think Keon Coleman ends up going before McMillan and
Polk.
Polk, but I don't agree. I think Polk ends up sliding to that fourth round. I
Yeah.
think he's gonna be the one that falls, and again, that's gonna be a steal because people are sleeping on him because when he got a shot, he did produce. He may be a little bit, take some time in the NFL, but that's still gonna be someone you want to watch out for. That could potentially rise what his rankings are for you there. Um, Now let's go into our running backs. The wide receiver class is deep. The running back class, who's consensus one? You can ask anyone, and they probably have a different answer. But who are the running back? Or let's see, which team are you looking at to potentially draft running backs in day two?
I mean, obviously Dallas needs one. The Chargers need one. Do I think they take him in the second round? No. Um, I could see the Bengals trying to get up and get one. It would be interesting to see where that ends up. But I mean, Braylon Allen's my guy, so I hope he goes to Cincinnati. I think he'd be really good there. I have him as my one and Brooks as my two. But again, we're gonna really find out what the rankings are for the running back class once
Mhm,
everything lands. I mean, I'm a big Marshawn Lloyd guy too, so it's just
mhm,
more of a. It's going to be interesting. I actually think Houston, they have two second round picks. I think two,
mhm.
and I think they go and get one because I don't.
Okay.
I think they might need one after Mixon, and I don't think they believe in Pierce anymore.
Yeah.
So I think they need another option, and I think Marshawn Lloyd would be a good option there. There's there's a bunch of them. Blake
Hu-
Corum might go to the Chargers. We all think that too, but I think you're right in giving him Roman Wilson first, and then letting
huh,
either Blake Corum
Cor-
fall to them,
I
or he
think we
gets
will.
taken. I think they're okay with that.
I think Corum does fall to them in round three. I have it, like I said, I haven't filled out my round three board, but that's the one pick I already have there. So I think they get Corum there. And then it's just a match made in heaven where you have Corum. And the thing is, they still have Gus Edwards, right? So you're not
Yeah.
necessarily putting Corum into the fire right away because you
And
have
JK.
Greg Roman
Yep, they
there
have
and
JK too.
JK. So you have him there to learn from them. Houston's interesting. That's someone I don't have them mocking. Again, haven't done my third round yet. And they do have a third round pick, correct? They do have a third round pick. Houston, I would love to see Braylon Allen there because
Yeah.
they did expend Joe Mixon. I agree, they're not sold on Damian Pierce anymore. Like I said on the show yesterday too, OC's already said, "Yo, we already feel he doesn't fit our system."
Yeah.
So they could go get Braylon Allen. You have a veteran like Joe Mixon. Braylon Allen's what 20? I think he's the youngest person
He
in the draft.
just turned 20 in January.
So right, guy can't even drink yet, but
Yeah.
you have him learn from Mixon. He doesn't have to start. You can still have Damian Pierce as your two, or have someone else if you try to get someone. But you have Braylon Allen there to learn now.
Yep.
Next season, you're like, all right, Purse, we're done with you. You're good. You can go, whatever. And now you have Braden Allen take that step. And now potentially Joe Mixon's a year older now. Braden Allen's a year older. He learns the system. He knows what he needs to do. And now he could potentially take that role over or, start to get in, feeding in some of Joe Mixon's takes there as well. So I actually love the idea of Braden Allen. You brought up the Bengals. I'm glad you did. Before I say this, who do you think is the first running back off the board?
I think Brooks is,
To
and I
Dallas?
think to Dallas.
Okay.
It makes too much sense. They need an athletic running back,
Uh-huh.
and he's arguably the best athletically gifted running back off the board. Now Trey Benson is also up there, but he seems to be falling a little bit. I don't know why, but are we what we've talked about 5, 6 running backs already, and they could all be the first
Right.
one off the board. So it's just
For
more of
sure.
a. I think in that spot, like Houston and Cincinnati, they need a little bit bigger bruiser back.
Right.
Dallas needs that athletic back, and I think that's where Brooks fits.
Okay. So I have Brooks as the second RB off the board to Dallas. You brought up Cincinnati. I have Cincinnati going Trey Benson.
Yeah,
He's
you're a Trey Benson guy. I
yeah,
know.
he's my RB1. You have Zach Moss there. You have Chase
Chase
Brown
Brown.
there.
Yeah,
So I think Benson, he's like a Mixon. He could go out there and do what Mixon was doing. You could argue, he did get the full shot, the full workload there, but he has fresher legs, right? He has some injury concerns there in the past as well. But if they're in the market for a running back, I think you could go get Benson, and he plugs right into what Mixon was doing, and you still have Chase. Him and Brown or Moss are complete opposites, so you still have them to have a 1-2 punch there. And when he has that step and goes out and cuts, he's electrifying. So I think you could potentially see them go and get Trey Benson in that second round, which is going to lead me to my next question. What does this do for the running backs in your ranking? So Brooks to the Cowboys. That's I feel match made in heaven. That's where we think, especially with ACL though. But does he?
yeah.
You mentioned earlier about running backs potentially sliding to the second round. Does a landing spot specific move a running back into the back of the first for you?
Uh, it depends on other thing, but yes, probably. But I mean, are you going to take a running back before Bo Nix? I wouldn't. Are you going to take a running back before Bowers? I might. If Brooks goes to the Cowboys, I might take him. So I mean, it all depends. It's kind of lining up now that back half or that back quarter of picks 10, 11, 12, 9, 10, 11, 12. We don't know what's going to happen
Yeah.
because you're going to like a player more than what the value is at 109, and you're like, I kind of don't like anyone, but someone really, I know this manager really likes this guy, so maybe I have try to work out a trade with him. So it's gonna be
Right.
interesting, but I think landing spots the key. But yeah, if Allen went to Houston and Brooks went to Dallas, I would be picking him in the back half of the round for sure.
Okay. I think it'll be huge on what wide receivers go because
That too.
I
Yep.
I think the you have looking at the first. Let me see real quick. First round, we're not gonna say in specific picks, but Caleb Williams, Daniels, May, Harrison, Neighbors, Odunze, that's 6. Their first round. JJ Bo Nix, that's 8. Their first round.
Yeah.
Bowers, Penix can potentially slide. Brian Thomas, possibly first round. That's 9. Wardy's first round. That's 10.
Pearsall's probably in the
Pearsall and
second round.
Leggett, 11, 12.
They got to be
Right.
first round
So
since they got the first round capital,
yeah.
right?
So Leggett, I get Leggett, but man, that's just
I'm not taking him in the first round. I won't.
yeah. You can argue 112, I guess, but it's just I just don't love that. If there would have been Buffalo staying there, I'd been all over it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and same thing with
You can't trust the Panthers right now.
yeah. I think Purcell more so than what Leggett would be.
Yeah.
But then we talked about the wide receivers that are coming off. Franklin, Ladd, I think those are all it. So if Benson goes Cincinnati, I'm starting to think about it. If Cincinnati gets a running back in round 2, I'm starting to think about who they get because I think that goes into showing they can go in there and be the RB1 right away. And then you have the Cowboys, Jonathan Brooks. People are gonna overdraft Jonathan Brooks,
They are. They
and
are.
I'm not mad about it. I get it, but he's injured. He's hurt. We had to see, and it's college
He had
football and
1 year
NFL is
production
different.
too. So
Yeah, and my guy Dino was talking about he could even beat out Roshan Johnson, when he was there. So I get it. It went in a weak running back class. He was strong when he was on the field, but man, you can have him slide. Let someone else overdraft him and get one of the back end. Get your Braylon Allens if he goes somewhere like Houston or so where he may sit. Maybe
well,
Green Bay behind Josh Jacobs and has to sit for a little bit. And they're out of AJ Dillon, whatever it may be. But so those are something to think about there. Um,
I
and then
mean,
let me
that's what
see.
we're looking for too, right? In running back, it's like we're trying to just find the value in running backs. So
Right,
starting in the second and third rounds, I'm going to start picking them up just because one of them's got to hit.
right,
So it's like I might
agreed.
hedge my bet and take four of them, but it's
Yeah,
also I know one's going to hit. So
but
I just don't know where.
But at cost, we talk
Yeah,
about fourth round, fifth round running backs, right? That those are you got to move those a little bit based on what the NFL sees them as. Like a fourth round pick
exactly. Yep,
becomes like a second round running back in a sense. Second or third round running backs become first round in a sense. But still, I think in certain situations, I'm a Blake Watson guy. I may
yep.
wait and take Blake Watson later. I may wait and take Ray Davis later. Kamani Vidal even later. Some names to drop there
Frank
that
Gore Jr.
Frank
Yep,
Gore Jr. that aren't going to go day two. They're going to go back in day three. But those are guys you can get with your fourth round and the third round picks. So
so you're trying to find your Kyron Williams.
yeah,
Even though now Kyron Williams has produced, I'm trying to sell him for as
yeah.
high as I can because he's not going to have this high of value anymore.
But that's the name of the game,
Yeah,
you know.
exactly.
So
Exactly. I know, but
yeah,
it's just like that's who you're trying to find for
right,
sure, and I get it, hundred
yeah.
percent. So
Just a guy that can hit, with it, and with the RB class being weaker than what we see next year is going to happen. Next year is going to be loaded with running
yeah.
backs. We may see three go
Oh
in the first round potentially. So
yeah.
be a
Oh man,
crazy
you
year
keep
next
putting
year.
out your rankings at FFU and all that
Yeah,
stuff, and man,
yeah.
I love the running backs next year. Oof.
It's gonna be great there. But now this becomes an interesting question that we haven't asked this yet. We talked about wide receivers, running backs. I know we touched on it. Is Brock Bowers still the tight end one of this class?
Depends on who Cincinnati and Denver takes, right? In my opinion,
Yeah.
what
Okay.
if Eric All goes to Denver?
Okay. That
I
that
mean,
could be
he's
potential.
not
Yeah.
he's not the most athletically gifted, but he's gonna start because
hmm
he's one of the best blockers. You can't bet against an Iowa tight end.
hmm
I'm not betting. You know what? I'm not betting on it against any of the tight ends from the Big Ten. I like all of them. I like the Minnesota guy. I love Brevin Spanford. I will pound the table for Brevin Spanford until he gets drafted.
Yeah. Great pick.
Theo Johnson, people like him. People like Cade Stover. There's a bunch of them in the Big Ten that I like. And if
Yeah.
Cincinnati and the Colts and the Broncos take three of those Ten tight ends that are in line to start and not have a committee,
Right.
I might take them over Brock Bowers.
So
I'm not
Colts,
afraid to say it.
no, that's fair. Colts, I'm not that fond of, just because
Yep.
we've seen them have tons of tight ends. And I just don't know if that's something that would fit. Like, I don't think that benefits what they are. Like, I still think they,
Yeah, I don't think
give
AR
it,
is a tight end.
yeah, kind of
He'd
target
rather
there.
run, in my opinion. I agree.
So that one, not Cincinnati, huge team to watch. You could talk about Rams.
Yep.
Tyler Higbee's on the way out there. You could talk about Houston. They need someone there too. You could bring up uh, Kansas City. Just as you're talking about Larry tight ends, who this is a nice tight end class too that I think is being slept on. But if they go out there and get someone like a Benson,
Yep.
if they go out there and get maybe Jared Wiley, even,
Yep.
Jatavian
Exactly.
Sanders is a big name, so I do think based on that landing spot that I'm not surprised if Bowers ends up transitioning to a wide receiver because they put him in slot more, so that may
I think
change
I think
things.
so. I think so. I think that's
But
what's going to happen.
I think there is going to be a new tight end one of the class as far as what they can produce for your teams.
Yeah.
Not necessarily saying they're better talent than Bowers, but what they can produce for their teams based on where they go. I don't, looking at my board right now, I don't have a tight end going in the second round, but I probably will have a run going in the third round with potentially Jatavian Sanders, Sanat, and probably Theo Johnson going in
Yeah.
that third round.
Well, what
Uh,
about like you say you don't like the fit for the Colts, and I get it. But what if Jatavian Sanders got there? Because he's the most athletically gifted, and He
Yeah.
needs work on his blocking, but you're not getting Sanders to block, right?
Yeah.
You have enough of your tight ends that already know how to block, so
Yeah.
put him in the slot.
Yeah.
Sanders is going to win, so I think that's where you would win with AR is getting one of the athletically gifted ones like Sanat or Sanders for the Colts, and then that's how they win.
That's
That's
fair.
the only way I think a tight end would win in this class as a Colt.
Yeah. I actually like that. That's a smooth pick there, Sanders to the Colts. But I don't know. I don't know if
They
I'm
also
still.
need, yeah, they need a
I,
guy to complement Pittman too. I
yeah.
don't think it's going to happen in the second, but
No. I have them
it is
going.
interesting because even if you give him third round capital, that's still enough capital for me to might put him over Bowers.
I have them going Tyler Newman in the second safety.
Okay. Yep.
Um, Sanders though, I don't know if to the Colts. I like what you're saying there. I don't know if I'm taking Sanders over Bowers.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's more on. I don't know if AR is going to make that happen for him. I think it's still Pittman show, and then they go get someone else later.
So
They if they get someone like a Jacob Cowan, or they have Josh Downs, so maybe not. They would need to get someone to beat the opposite like the
if
Y.
the Raiders came out today and said we're transitioning Bowers to a wide receiver, what would you do then with this tight end class?
Like who would I have as one?
Yeah, Sinet.
Yeah, probably Sinet as the one. Landing spot, of course, maybe have to
Yeah,
happen
for sure.
for it. But yeah, I would definitely do Sinet. And then if they do say they're moving out to slot, I still feel just because the quarterback situation, I
Yeah.
don't know if I'm taking that risk on taking him in the back end of the first still, or early second. I'm
Yep.
111, 112 maybe for
For
Bowers if he
sure.
slides
Yeah.
to you. But I'm still worried because you still have Jacoby Myers there too, who I think people sleep on, who had pretty
Yeah.
great production. Adams is older, sure, but I still think right now in the pecking order, you still have Bowers as the fourth option right now.
100%.
So
Yep.
that's where it becomes an issue, and it's most of the other quarterback too. Like I don't think Minshew or AOC are necessarily the guys that you want as your quarterback to spread it around for guys that have four wide receivers there, right? So that's where that issue comes in for me. But that's still pretty. Yeah, I think so. Not. I think Sanders could be in there. I like Theo Johnson. Brevin Spence Ford is a sneaky one. Kate
I
Stover,
love
Jared Wiley.
Ford.
Um,
Just know when Spanford gets drafted, which I think inevitably he will, I will be cheering at the rooftops for that man. I am the
he's
biggest Spanford stand out there. I can guarantee you.
He's nice. No, I love it. You mentioned Chip Ripien. You mentioned
Tip
AJ
Ryman,
Barner.
yeah.
Yeah, Ripien. I said Ripien. Yeah, Ryman. Um, you know, Dallin Holker, Kate Stover. I mean, there's deep guys that can go. I don't think they all go day two, but definitely some guys to watch for day three. Um, do
And
you think?
especially, we got to think a little bit too. I think a lot of these tight ends are going to get drafted, especially with this new kickoff rule, because you need a little bit bigger guys that already know how to block.
That's true.
Tight ends are going to be on special teams a lot more for that reason.
Very
So I
true.
think they're going to get draft capital. So then they're going to play a little bit, and then they're going to be on kickoff and your
Right.
spring your Xavier Worthy, let's just say,
Yeah.
and then you're going to get gifts with your little out routes because you sprung Xavier Worthy for the touchdown. So
Right.
it's going
That's
to
fair.
spread people out. I think tight ends are going to be coming back a little bit. The big blocking ones, but then they can go out for little routes. I think it's coming back.
Yeah. No, I love that thought concept. And those are definitely players to watch for, especially like you mentioned, a new kickoff role for hit that run and the day three of it
Yeah.
for it. So I love that mindset there because I think that's big there, especially when you come. If a guy can make it in special teams, then they can make it. Coaches love that. So
Yep. Exactly.
phenomenal thing there. Um, Hey, that was a great thing, man. We going up over to an hour here now. I mean, any last minute things about just day two, what's exciting or anything that happened in day one that just like blew your socks off or anything like that. Just last
I
minute
think
thoughts.
the interesting thing is, are we going to see a QB in day two? And I don't think it's going to be Spencer Rattler. I think it might be Jordan Travis, even with his injury. I think you take him kind of like what they did with Hendon Hooker, leave him on your pup list, but I want his value because
Okay.
Florida State was the number one team. They were going to be the number one team, and they would have won the championship. A lot of people say would have won the
Uh-huh.
championship with Jordan Travis,
Yeah.
and he would have been a first round guy if he didn't get hurt. So I think the value is still out there. It'll be interesting to see who takes him, and
So
I think they might overdraft him, obviously because of the injury. But I think you're still going to get a steal.
okay, so I don't have a QB going in my second round, but I do plan on playing one in the third. You said Jordan Travis. I think Rattler.
I
Travis
like
though,
Rattler too. I like Rattler, but
and at that point though, because Rattler goes in the third, I think you might take him at cost for what it is.
that's true.
If you don't necessarily need a quarterback where you want one in a super flex league, don't take Knicks. You go and get Rattler end of the second, something like that. But Jordan Travis, talk to me a little bit about your dreams in there. Like what give me two spots, two or three spots that you would love to see Jordan Travis in.
I'd love to see Jordan Travis in Dallas.
Okay.
Let him sit the whole year because obviously,
We know Trey Lance is in it. Okay.
well, it might not even be Trey Lance. I think it's just the
Yeah.
$55 million cost and what Dak is going to spend. If they can't get over the hump, they're going somewhere else. So why not try having a QB competition with Lance and Jordan Travis? Even though I am a big Lance stan too, so be careful what you. I'm just kidding. No, I don't think he's anything either.
Yeah.
I think that's more of a Shanahan conversation we can have off air. I don't like Shanahan, but it's more of I like him there, and I actually like him. Maybe even put some pressure on Bryce Young in Carolina. Why wouldn't you try to bring another younger guy in just to see if you get Bryce Young to that next level?
Okay.
Even if he doesn't start though, and in fantasy, I know this is a fantasy show, but I'm just thinking now as a GM, why wouldn't I try to push Bryce Young a little bit more and bring in a guy that's injured, so you're going to start, but what if he starts being better than you at practice once he gets healthy? I think that's why Goff played so well and stuff because Hooker's coming back, starting to practice. It's like, well, we have this young guy that we can go to for way cheaper than you. Why would we sign you if we can get the same results out of Hooker?
Okay.
So I think that's where I would go.
I love that mindset there. And that's GM type of thinking, push them a little bit. I don't think they have to potentially, if they go, I don't think they need not in the second, but I don't think they need to draft him in the third too. I think that's a potential that he can slide to the fourth there and still have that, but it's not a third puts a little bit more pressure, which sure you want, but that fourth is still there. So you did say just because the team that I'm probably getting to draft a quarterback in the third, which now I'm considering Travis, the Rams.
Yep, the Rams too.
Stafford is good. He's healthy, but we know he's on the way out. He doesn't need to play anymore. He has a Super Bowl ring. He proved he can do it. He has arm. We know he has a bad shoulder. He doesn't need to do it anymore. You can bring in someone like Jordan Travis, who is a game manager and can lead a team. We've seen that leadership traits. Learn from one of the guys that has one of the best arms in the NFL, strongest shoulders in the NFL. Just a tough mental leader guy. I would love to see that there, and that's moving Travis up to possibly mid-second for me if he goes through. And this is you going there to say, hey, I need to just put on taxi, right? Say through the Hendon Hooker, you overdrafted when Lions took him, but you go up saying, if you're telling me in next year that Jordan Travis is leading the Rams and he has Puka Nacua as his one because Cubs gone, maybe you have maybe like a Kyron Williams. Now you can go out there and get someone like a potentially Ted McMillan. If we talk about next year, Mecca Ibuka, Jordan Travis is set up there. So that's somewhere I like. I think Pratt is someone to talk about too. I think that's someone that has a good arm. But I think a quarterback does go in round 3, maybe 2. But then the other ones will slide. You'll see one in round 4 though. But
I see you're in content creation like I am, and we write and stuff. Pratt's one of those guys that I haven't written on because I really like him, and I don't want my friends reading about him and how much I like him. So I've been kind of just keeping him on the down low because I think, oh man, if the Rams get him, I'm gobbling Pratt up because I love that.
Reds, I mean, it was like the Falcons too. Falcons already got their guy with Penix, but a guy like Pratt, you want him to sit behind and learn from a vet. I'm trying to think off top of another team that has a solid vet that's probably on the way out. And Pratt goes to the Jets. all over
That
that.
too, all over
All
it.
over,
Exactly.
all over that. Rattler too to the Jets. I mean, you
Hmm.
would talk
It all,
Travis
yeah.
Jets and the Rams. Who they get at quarterback? I'm assuming is their heir, unless they just tank next year and they have to go get a top quarterback next year. But those are the guys I'm watching for a quarterback this year.
It's pretty rough out there for quarterbacks next year. I don't
Yeah,
know if I would take Pratt could have been probably the number one next year.
yeah,
I mean, he's
definitely.
also he aged out obviously, but yeah,
Yeah,
there's a few guys out there that's you're the
yeah.
QB7, QB8 this draft. You could have been probably 2 or 3 in the next year.
We go from a deep quarterback class, wide receiver class, shallow running back class to a deep running back class next year,
Yeah.
shallower wide receiver, shallower quarterback. So,
So that
um,
that tells us expect a lot of defense in the first round next year.
yeah, but they got some solid guys there. More
Yep.
tackles too, for sure. Um, Cody, man, I appreciate you coming on with me. Tell the people at the FFU where they can find your work.
I'm at Dynasty Pros, just like the T-shirt says. That's where I exclusively write. I have a podcast over there, Fourth and Dynasty, with my man Brian. Just having fun over there, talking rookie prospects, some Dynasty dilemma stuff. Trying to get it more into some of the content game, doing some there's TikTok and YouTube Shorts and stuff on that regard too. So it's kind of fun. The last few ones I've done a Dynasty dilemma on Trevor Lawrence and on Kyron Williams. That's why I bring them up a lot.
Mhm.
They're fresh on my mind. I just got finished doing one on Hollywood Brown too, so it's pretty exciting to see what's coming. And I love this time of year. It's my Christmas.
There you go. Final, just throw in question. Would you be opposed to the NFL moving the draft from 3 days to 7 days, 1 day for each round?
Oh, yeah, I'd be all right with that.
There
I'd
you
be all
go.
right with that. The suspense. I
Yeah.
don't know. It would be tough watches, 4th through 7th. I think.
Oh yeah.
I
They
think they might have gold right now in the 3 days though too. Now that I think about it,
Yeah,
I
because
just
four through
love.
seven they run through it in 4 hours. Where you have it there to a 30-minute show, so you're just
It,
maybe
it,
so.
it would work for the diehards like us, but for
Yeah,
the casual watchers, we would not. It would not do well.
they're over it. That's
It would
fair.
it would have to be an ESPN
Uh,
Plus or something exclusive.
right for
It
them to
wouldn't
do
be,
it.
yeah. So
Well,
I'd
Cody,
love.
I appreciate you coming on. It was just here, at Cody Folden on X. Make sure you
Yep.
follow him. My guy's dropping great content. Always want to have a chat with you as well. So leave him a comment. Chat with him in X as well. Cody, for the guys at FFU, SC, Aaron St. Dennis, Jeremy Solman, Jesse Moeller. We appreciate you coming on with us, talking some ball. And until next time, this is the PPR show, and we will chat with you next time. Later.